think there's something very romantic about hotels. I love the idea that when you check into a hotel, you become somebody else. I think there's something electrifying about that. There must be something wrong with me because it happens a lot in my films. I love these characters so much, and yet I'm the one responsible for their pain.
I denne uge udkommer neo-noir-thrilleren Bad Times at the Royale. Og lad dig endelig ikke narre af titlen. Ganske vist sker der masser af slemme ting på filmens hotel, men hvis du er til skarpskrevne krimier, så kommer du stensikkert til at have a good time i biffen.
Would you mind opening the door?
No, I ain't gonna do that.
Superstjerner som Jeff Bridges, Chris Hemsworth og Jon Hamm dukker op på et afsides amerikansk hotel. Her bliver der leveret talrige slag og skud. Venskaber og fjendskaber bliver støbt, og det hele bygger op til et nervepirrende klimaks. Og så bør I faktisk ikke vide mere på forhånd. Som det eneste danske medie var Moovy TV for nylig i San Sebastian i Spanien, hvor vi interviewede filmens forfatter/instruktør Goddard. Goddard har for længst etableret sig som et af de største forfattertalenter i Hollywood. Han kickstartede karrieren som manuskriptforfatter på Joss Whedons tv-serie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Og senere skrev Goddard og Whedon den mægtige meta-gyser The Cabin in the Woods, som Goddard instruerede.
This isn't right. We should split up.
Yeah, good idea.
Really?
Goddard blev Oscar-nomineret for sit manuskript til Ridley Scott's The Martian, og han har skrevet hæderlige genrefilm som World War Z og den første og fantastiske Cloverfield-film.
Looks like you should have left town a little bit earlier.
I årevis har Goddard også arbejdet på en filmatisering af den blændende science fiction roman Robopocalypse. Først skulle Steven Spielberg lave filmen, men de seneste rygter siger, at Michael Bay skal instruere. Goddard har også arbejdet længe på Bad Times at the Royale, som han både har skrevet, produceret og instrueret. Men hvorfor har han været så passioneret omkring netop dette projekt?
Bad Times at the Royale is very much a passion project. It started with my love of crime fiction and crime cinema. I wanted to play around in that space. It was a genre I hadn't worked in before, and I get excited when I'm doing something new. I've always loved authors like Dashiell Hammett, Agatha Christie, Flannery O'Connor, Graham Greene, James Ellroy. The list goes on, and I wanted to evoke the very passions that they evoked in me. So it started there. It started with me wanting to play around in that space, and as I started to think about what I would do, out came Royale.
Yes.
It's gonna work. It's gonna work. Okay.
I think there have been so many great stories set in motels and hotels throughout the ages, especially dark stories, you know, Psycho, The Shining. We've had more comedy films, Grand Budapest Hotel. What is it about this type of location that makes it a great breeding ground for great stories and characters?
I think there's something very romantic about hotels. I love the idea that when you check into a hotel, you become somebody else for a brief period of time. You live a different life. I think there's something electrifying about that. It allows you as a storyteller to keep your story contained, to give yourself a space where these characters can exist for one brief moment as separate entities. I think there's something romantic about that.
And it's such an amazing cast that helped you bring this story to life, especially Chris Hemsworth, who I think is sort of underrated. I mean, do you think he doesn't get the credit he deserves for his acting chops because he does so many mainstream movies where the spectacle sort of overshadows his abilities as an actor?
Chris is a tremendously nuanced actor. He has such a deep emotional well, and he's so vulnerable. He's so willing to put himself on screen, and that as a director, you can't ask for anything more. He gets a chance to shine in a way that he doesn't normally get a chance to shine in this movie. I think that it was exciting for me as a director. I think it was exciting for Chris to play a role that he is not used to playing.
You think you could just take what's mine? I wouldn't come a hunting.
No, I figured you would, but I'd be ready when you did.
I have to ask your help to clear one of the biggest movie mysteries, which is you were obviously one of the first people to direct Chris Hemsworth,
yes,
and thereby also one of the first people to throw off his shirt, thereby inspiring all of us to hit the gym.
Yes.
You got nothing to drink?
In the in-between years, he's done it in practically every movie. So can you confirm or deny, is that now something that he's now contractually obligated to do?
He's certainly not contractually obligated. And I almost went against it, but the character he plays in this movie, Billy Lee, is very much the embodiment of toxic masculinity, and his character invades your space. Both literally and metaphorically, he is constantly invading your space. It felt right for him to aggressively be shirtless. It was a choice that I made as a director, and Chris was game to do it, but it was very much in keeping with this character.
Also, Cynthia Erivo was the revelation to me. I hadn't seen her before. Obviously, this is the first film that comes out with her, and then she's also in Widows. But how did you come upon her for this part?
Cynthia Erivo plays a character named Darlene Sweet. She's a lounge singer in the late 60s, and I knew when I was writing the character, I wanted her to sing live in the film.
This old heart of mine's been broke 1,000 times.
I think you lose something when you lip sync. There's a falseness to it that I think the audience can feel, and I wanted the audience to feel what it feels like for a singer to create. It wasn't just about singing, it was about the act of singing when no one is watching and what that means. How a singer prepares. This movie is about voyeurism in many ways, so getting to watch her warm up was very important to me. I knew we couldn't fake it. Like the audience would have known if we faked it. So I needed, quite frankly, one of the best singers on the planet, which was no small order. But we just did an audition, and we saw wonderfully talented people. But I needed somebody who could not just sing, but could perform while singing, because her emotions come out in song. And I'd heard of Cynthia's performances in The Color Purple. People talk about it in reverential tones. When she walked in that day, it was electrifying. She started to sing, and you could feel it, the energy course through the room, and I knew we had something special here. We had Darlene Sweet.
But it's such an amazing, we talked about the cast, but also just the cast of characters as well.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, for you as the storyteller and the director, because it hurts me a lot to see these characters go through the amount of pain that they do, because you start to fall in love with these characters, and some of them you fall in love with, but then suddenly you fall out of love with, because you're surprised at the twists and turns that they take. But also, does it hurt you as a writer to see them, being punished throughout all this?
Yeah, I mean, there must be something wrong with me, because it happens a lot in my films.
You gotta stay calm.
I love these characters so much, and yet I'm the one responsible for their pain at the exact same time. I don't want to get into too much psychoanalysis right here today, but there must be something deep within me. Because I do like characters, I like to see them when they are in their darkest times. There's something about their humanity that comes out when you put them in a vice and start to twist it. And certainly with the Royale, this movie is about 7 characters, all going through a very tumultuous night. And we get a chance to really explore some complicated areas.
And cut!
Well, unfortunately, Drew, I don't have time for one final question.
Very good.
But I have to ask you, because it's, I know you wrote the script for this many years ago, but it's one of my favorite books of all time, Robo-Apocalypse.
Yes.
And I think you worked for it a long time with Steven Spielberg,
Sure.
and also I'd love to hear where that is now. And also, for me, you would be the perfect director for this, because it has that sort of fragmented sort of storytelling also that I think works really well, and also Cabin in the Woods, and especially El Royale as well.
Yeah.
Can I convince you to take the director's seat?
I think we have to rip it away from Mr. Spielberg. Look, Robo-Apocalypse is a wonderful book, and it's one of those projects that I can't wait to see the light of day. In Hollywood, things don't always move as fast as you want them to, but no one is going to rush it. These things sometimes take time, and hopefully we will have news on it soon.
Howdy.